Well, to discuss the UN Security Council meeting, we're now joined by Ron Paul, Chairman and the founder of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. And good evening to you, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Let's just start with this emergency meeting then by the UN Security Council. Essentially, just listening to it too, it's presented as a fait accompli, isn't it, that the Bashar al-Assad was behind this chemical attack. But of course, the Russian envoy was trying to make the point. Again, you're basing your evidence on stuff that's presented by groups and bodies and NGOs that we know to have been unreliable in the past.
No, I don't think the evidence is there. At least it hasn't been presented, and they needed a so-called excuse. They worked real hard, that is our government and their coalition, an excuse to go into Iraq so they concocted stories, all kinds of things, and that's what this is part of. I don't know why, if any of it is true, why they couldn't wait and take a look at it. You know, a few years ago in 2013, there were these similar stories that, you know, didn't go anywhere because with a little bit of a pause, there was a resistance to it built up in our Congress as well as the American people. They thought it was all, you know, a fraud and that nothing like that was happening. And right now, I just don't see how it could conceivably be what they claim because it's helping ISIS, it's helping Al-Qaeda, it's helping the enemy that we're supposedly be fighting.
Why did Trump rush into this overnight? Didn't get it past Congress, didn't even try to put it past Congress, didn't wait for any of the alleged evidence that the Syrian government, maybe even Russia behind it, or was behind this awful chemical attack on the 4th. Why did he do this? Was it a knee-jerk reaction? Was he pushed? What's behind it?
Well, I don't know that answer because you're looking into the minds of the president, and I can't tell, but all I know is that from my viewpoint analysis that there was no need to rush. There was no threat to our national security, and they have to give a reason for doing these things, but there was a rush into it, and I have no idea what his purpose was. He doesn't, maybe just didn't want to hear the debate because the last time they debated it, they lost the debate. And this time, you know, it was necessary for him to jump on this, I guess, before people came to know what was really going on.
Just to tell you, Ron, we're across what's happening at the UN Emergency Security Council meeting. We heard the Russian representative, Vladimir Safronkov, speak earlier on. We think any minute the American representative is going to speak. So I just wanted to apologise in advance if we cut out of you. We're going to go straight to that when it happens. But,
Ron, okay. Yeah, what could be the implications then of this attack? Because according to America, it was a limited attack. It was specifically targeted, and there's no hint of a military escalation. But if you listen to the words of Russia, they're saying, look, Medvedev has just said recently, we believe it could be taking us to the brink of a military, you know, conflict with America.
Well, that is the real danger, but right now, from my viewpoint, and a few others, maybe more than a few, see this as just a sort of a victory for the neoconservatives who have been looking for Assad has to go, and who is it that wants to get rid of him? And you have to look for that, who's involved in that, and that's, I think, unfortunately, the ones who are winning out on this, and the radicals are winning, too, the people who have been trying to get rid of Assad as well. So there was a bit of hypocrisy going on here because, you know, in one minute we say that, well, maybe Assad has to stay, the next day he has to go, and yes, we're over there fighting ISIS and Al-Qaeda. At the same time, what we end up doing by these bombs, we've actually strengthened them. So it is a mess, and that is why I work so hard in America to present the case for non-interventionism, mind our own business. There are problems around the world, but I do not believe the American people and our American government should be the policemen of the world. It makes no sense. It causes us more trouble and more grief. It causes us more financial problems because of this. It's not in our self-interest, and it's hardly a way that we can defend our Constitution and liberty. It is not for that reason. There are other motives for this, and to understand clearly how they're thinking, I can't tell you that, but I do know that the results are not very good for the American people.
And where does it leave the peace talks?
Yeah, the peace talks, of course, have been ended now. They were afraid, they were terrified that peace was going to break out. Al Qaeda was on the run. Peace talks were being being entertained with, and all of a sudden it had to change, and this changed things dramatically. The whole event, and I do not expect them anytime soon or in the distant future to prove that Assad would be so stupid as to do this. Why would he do it? It was zero benefit to him to participate in it. And but the headlines here, United States says Assad's killing his own people, killing his own people. Well, that makes no sense whatsoever. And I wish that people would demand to hear the truth before they decide they have to go and start another war.
Do you feel, Ron, that the pressure that Donald Trump was feeling domestically may have had something to do with his reaction or decision to launch this airstrike? I say that because, Obamacare wasn't repealed as he hoped. There have been these continued accusations that he's cosy with Russia. And, of course, doing something like this, I suppose, shows he is a strong man and he doesn't have this link with Russia.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but that's again speculation. But I was wondering about the fact that the announcement came when he was talking to Xi from China, and of course Korea is high on the list of targets for our president and our administration, and therefore there may be some significance there, and that might be a warning. And this is what's going to happen to you if you don't do what we tell you. In China, you have to take care of your problem. But once again, that gets to be more complex when you try to figure out each little move and why they do it. I just don't like the big move. I just don't like us being involved in so many countries, the internal affairs and every fight that's going on, and being involved like this, I think, is so detrimental. And it may well be that there's going to be an accident and the war will get much worse in Syria. But I'm also wondering whether it could be an incitement for something more entangling, dealing with North Korea. That would be bad for us as well.
OK, Ron, look, we have to leave it there. Always good to talk to you, though. Thanks for your time this evening. That was Ron Paul, Chairman and founder of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.